Breastfeeding is one of the oldest human activities that we know least about. Katie Hine says that we actually know twice as much about erectile dysfunction than we do about breastfeeding. We should support mothers who breastfeed their babies. Breastfeeding has always been interesting to me, and I've been researching it for the past couple of months. Women are not getting enough education about breastfeeding, and it's causing them to either want to stop breastfeeding or not want to start breastfeeding at all. We need to teach women how to breastfeed and educate them on the problems and struggles of breastfeeding. And we need to educate women before they leave the hospital on breastfeeding and offer extra help within the first couple of weeks that they are out of the hospital. To begin, the biggest issue is lack of knowledge on how difficult breastfeeding is. Women are not getting enough education about the problems and struggles of breastfeeding, and it's making them want to stop or not start breastfeeding. According to the article, Why Do We Understand So Little About Breastfeeding? Nursing is physically, emotionally, and psychologically consuming. According to the article, to succeed at breastfeeding, most moms could use help. 418 first-time moms were interviewed while they were still pregnant, and almost all of them intended to breastfeed. 3 days after giving birth, 92% of them were having issues. 50% of the issues were just simple things like latching problems, nipple confusion, and when the babies preferred to have a bottle. 44% of the problems were pain, and 40% of the problems were the mothers weren't producing enough milk. These women lacked lactation counselors and weren't getting the help that they needed, so 47% of the moms were beginning to use formula as well as breastfeeding, and 21% of them just quit breastfeeding altogether. According to the article, Why Do We Understand So Little About Breastfeeding? The medical system often fails women struggling to breastfeed. Ann Bennett says, quote, and a lot of the moms I see have never seen a woman nurse a baby, end quote. According to the article, hospitals still don't give moms enough support for breastfeeding. 75% of the hospitals still give healthy babies formula even when moms prefer to breastfeed. The combination of intense pressure of breastfeeding and the lack of support makes breastfeeding pretty much impossible to do. These are some of the things that we can do to help women with breastfeeding. We need to help teach women how to breastfeed and offer education, and we need to offer education on breastfeeding. Teaching women how to breastfeed can build their confidence on breastfeeding in order to push them to continue breastfeeding. According to the article, hospitals still don't give moms enough support for breastfeeding. 90% of the birthing centers are teaching moms how to breastfeed, and 65% of birthing centers are encouraging women to breastfeed within the first hour of birth. According to the article, the surgeon's call to action to support breastfeeding. Information about breastfeeding and infant formula is rarely provided by obstetricians. And people believe that infant formula is equivalent to breast milk in terms of health benefits, but that's incorrect. That same article says a national survey found that a quarter of the U.S. agreed that feeding with formula will increase the chances that the baby will get sick, which is true because the breast milk provides more nutrients to the baby instead of the infant formula. So this is what we need to do in order for women to be successful with breastfeeding. We need to educate women before leaving the hospital and offer extra help within the first couple of weeks so that women can build their confidence. Elizabeth O'Connell says, quote, the reality of breastfeeding is a wonderful bonding experience, but when you're in pain, you aren't really thinking about that. The process got easier once she sought out to get a lactation specialist. According to the article, breastfeeding is still difficult for many moms. Just helping women slightly shift the way they hold their babies or teaching the little ones how to latch on properly will decrease the pain that the mothers experience. Support is crucial for helping moms push through the early challenges of breastfeeding. According to the article, hospitals still don't give moms enough support for breastfeeding. 1/3 of hospitals offer women breastfeeding help after they leave the hospital, such as things like support groups, just simply checking in after they leave the hospital, or offering them lactation consultants. According to the article, the Surgeon General call to action to support breastfeeding, increasing knowledge and skills relative to breastfeeding and skills, and positively influencing mothers' attitudes about it is the best way to educate them. That's the cause of the problem, possible solution, and proposed solution. So in conclusion, breastfeeding is something that a lot of women struggle with. So if we educate them on breastfeeding, then they will begin to feel more confident in what they are doing and be encouraged to breastfeed. So the causes and effects are that not enough women are getting education on the problems and issues with breastfeeding, and it's making them either not want to start breastfeeding or making them want to stop breastfeeding. The possible solutions are that we can teach them how to breastfeed or offer them education on it. And the one proposed solution is that we need to educate women on breastfeeding before they leave the hospital and offer extra help the first weeks that they are out of the hospital. So we should begin to educate ourselves more on the oldest human activities that we are still using today, because it's very important. And if we educate ourselves, then we can begin to encourage the mothers that are still using this activity today.